Rogue is a class that offers a ton of utility to you in the game, whether it's picking locks, disarming traps, pickpocketing someone, or just outright dealing a ton of damage. The Rogue is truly a master of every single facet of things that you'll be able to accomplish in Baldur's Gate 3. And in this video today, we're going to go through building out a Rogue. Maybe this is your first character, or perhaps you want to respec one of your companions, such as Astarion, into a better Rogue. Whatever the case is, we'll go through that here today. We'll start out at level 1, looking at Rogue on a very base level to discuss the character creation process, then go into a discussion about your subclass options, talk a little bit about standout feats, and close the video out going into some strong multi-class options. You can quickly navigate to any part of the video that interests you the most using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. And please don't forget to check me out on Twitch, where I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Also, too, if you're looking for my other class guides, I have a whole playlist linked at the end of this video, as well as in the pinned comment and description. But let's get started here on how to build a Rogue for beginners in Baldur's Gate 3. Loading into the game, let's have a conversation about your race. Now, with Baldur's Gate 3, no race gets any one benefit over the other when it comes to ability scores. Everyone's race is the exact same in that it is all just 8 down the board, and you assign 2 or 1 point as you see fit. So really choose the race that you have most in mind for the roleplay of your character. But let's also talk about some ones that maybe have certain standout benefits. Drow, for example, is probably one of my favorite races in the game period, so I'll almost always recommend it. But you start with a proficiency towards perception, which is just nice to have. You don't have to waste a proficiency on it, and it's one of the most important skills in the game. You also will get cantrips for Dancing Lights, Fairy Fire, both not as amazing, but you get the Darkness spell, which will impose Blind, and Blind can be used as an advantage when you're using Sneak, and I'll explain that a little bit when we talk about Sneak Attack. In addition to, you start off with the proficiencies in Rapier, Short Sword, and Hand Crossbow, which is always just kind of nice to have. You can jump into any of the races that possibly give you a medium armor proficiency here, like the Shield Dwarf and whatnot. That kind of unlocks medium armor right out the gate for your Rogue, which is always nice. Tieflings are good too. For Zariel's, Tieflings get both the Branding Smite and Burning Smite, which are used on melee weapons. So if you go with a melee Rogue, you basically get a free cantrip that you can use to give you access to smiting attacks. In addition as well, you can go with the Mephistopheles Tiefling, which does give Mage Hand, which is different than the Mage Hand for Arcane Trickster, but you can still use the Mage Hand to manipulate objects and interact with them. Always kind of nice. Also, you'll get Burning Hands and Flame Blade on the Mephistopheles Tieflings as well, which is kind of fun to use. If you want to stick with the Darkness route, you can use that with Asmodeus Tieflings. They'll get that at level 5. They'll get the Darkness spell as well as Hellish Rebuke, which is a nice reaction. Some other things that can really stand out here are Halflings, like the Lightfoot Halfling, which gets an advantage on stealth checks. And of course, Halflings in general just get lucky. So when you roll a 1 on an attack ability or saving throws, you'll be able to re-roll that 1. Another standout one is the Deep Gnome, which is probably my favorite of the gnomes, which does give you an advantage on stealth checks as well as being a gnome, which gives you advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. Keep in mind, you also will have your innate Rogue bonus to saving throws as well. You'll get your proficiency to dexterity saving throws. So you'll have a lot of advantage on intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and getting your proficiency bonus to dexterity saving throws. So it's all pretty cool. So those are some of my standout options here. Elves are always great here. You can go with the Wood Elf will get Sneak as one of its race proficiencies as well. So Stealth as one of its race proficiencies as well. So you'll just have that out the gate. Also, Githyanki, if you don't want to go with the grade A crackhead, the male one, you can go with the female Gith, but they'll get access to Astral Knowledge, which gives them a proficiency in all skills of a chosen ability. So you can say Charisma, and you'll get a proficiency bonus to all of your Charisma conversational abilities. But you do also get proficiency in light and medium armor, as well as short sword, long sword, and great sword. So a lot of great proficiencies out the gate. Now, as far as your subclasses go, the big standout one is Thief. Thief is seemingly very thin as far as abilities go. You really only get 3 abilities as a Thief. You get Supreme Sneak, which basically allows you to become invisible, and then you get these 2 here at level 3. Supreme Sneak you get level 9. Level 3 here is Second Story Work. You've mastered the art of falling and gain resistance to falling damage. That's a nice to have. But the big one right here is Fast Hands. Gain an additional bonus action. So now you have an action and 2 bonus actions. You can pop a potion of quickness or whatever the one for additional action is. That gives you 2 actions and your innate 2 bonus actions. So you'll just fly through the game, literally. The mobility on a thief is huge because what you can do here is use the aforementioned cunning actions of dash twice and triple your movement speed, and then still have an action to do attacks or whatever you want to do. Or maybe you use cunning action disengage and cunning action dash. Now you've pulled yourself out of combat and you've moved away. You can even cunning action dash twice and use your standard action of dash and move quadruple the speed. So the mobility on Thief is amazing, and it spices into almost every other class awesomely. If you put this onto a barbarian, they can enrage in one turn, attack in their main attack on the same turn, and even use a ability to use their frenzied strike if they're a berserker, or you could even action surge and get an additional attack. So there's so many ways you can use this additional bonus action on so many classes. It makes multi-class for Rogue very diverse and very fun with a lot of power attached to it. The Arcane Trickster is very interesting in that it's going to be adding in spells of the enchantment and illusion spell line into your kind of repertoire. Remember how we talked about that third kind of investment of stats? Well, this is when you would go intelligence, because your Arcane Trickster spells are going to be keyed off of your intelligence. And this will allow you to pull some, again, like I said, illusion and enchantment spells. Sleep being very good in the beginning of the game. Tasha's Hideous Laughter, always great. Disguise Self, allowing you to completely change who the hell you are. All sorts of cool things. And you get access to the wizard cantrips like Friendship, which is really good. Or Friends, I'm sorry. Or Minor Illusion. Fun stuff indeed. But then every so often you'll get the expanded spell list where you can pull from the entire wizard spell list. So you'll get these every handful of levels, and this allows you to kind of dip into some more diverse spells. And eventually around level 9, you'll get the ability to get, every time you are in sneak or stealthing around, the target gets a disadvantage on saving throws against your spells if you are hidden. So this kind of allows you to basically ambush people with your spells. So it's a really cool, fun way to play the game. Being perfectly honest too, I think Arcane Trickster is very fun and very cool and very unique, but I almost would rather go Rogue Thief and go Wizard just to pull from the additional bonus actions, or go Rogue Thief and go Sorcerer to get just a bunch of different casting capabilities with the meta magic. There is one other thing about the Arcane Trickster, and it is the Mage Hand Legerdemain. And what this is going to allow you to do, Legerdemain, whatever it is, allows you to do is that the Mage Hand is invisible, and it can carry out additional tasks. And those additional tasks are using your Thief Kit tools. So it can now pick locks and disarm traps, and it's going to last until you do a long rest. It's permanent. It's always up for you. So it's a really cool way to kind of manipulate and do things. You can go interact with levers, whatever it is. It's definitely more of like a very like RP heavy centric of a play style. And then lastly, you have the Assassin. Now the Assassin is another one of those ones that maybe on paper looks very thin. You get these 3 abilities, and then at level 9 you get Infiltration Expertise, which you adopt a new identity, changing your appearance, basically Disguise Self more or less. But these 3 abilities play hand in hand. Assassin is all about setting up alpha strikes, putting yourself in a position to maximize damage, to start a combat by surprising your foe that you can then just go completely ass wild with. I will warn you though, it is more of an advanced class because you need to kind of really be patient and tedious about setting up your initial alpha strike, because you do so much initial damage in that first round of combat. So let's take a look at this. And think of this in the scenario of you're going to need to like jump up onto roofs or jump up onto locations. So you're going to be using actions and bonus actions to move around. Well, that's okay. As soon as combat starts, you immediately restore your action and bonus action at the start of the combat. So you're good. Otherwise, you'd be down an action or bonus action if a game turn, quote unquote, hadn't unfolded. And then you get Assassinate Ambush. Any successful attack roll against a surprise creature is a critical hit. So you are basically going as hard as you can in the paint for that opening ambush shot, because now, initiative, you are deadliest against unprepared enemies. In combat, you have advantage on attack rolls against creatures that haven't taken a turn yet. So this is going to allow you to really dish out a ton of damage with your sneak attacks and having auto crits just ripping through anything that's surprised, because if they're surprised, they haven't taken a turn, you're going first, and you have a ton of initiative to benefit. What a lot of people typically will do is they'll couple Assassin with the Gloomstalker Ranger, which will give an innate bonus to initiative of like +3. So you're almost always going first regardless. Because this one right here, Assassinate Initiative, you don't need to surprise them. You just have to go before them in the line of combat. So if you go first, doesn't matter if they're surprised or not, you'll get advantage on your attack rolls. So a lot of really amazing things here with your Assassin. So again, just to recap, Thief is definitely about adding a ton of utility and playability into your any and all class of Rogue, any multi-class or what have you. Arcane Trickster is going to be adding enchantment and illusion spells to your repertoire. And Assassin is definitely the Alpha Striker, big damage bro. Now, as far as some rogue mechanics go, your big one is going to be sneak attack. Now, sneak attack can be done with either melee or range, but it's important to know that sneak attack isn't just simply needing to be stealth to use. You don't have to be sneaking around to use it, despite its name. You just simply have to have advantage on someone. Dealing extra damage to a foe you have advantage against. Also works, though, if you have an ally within 5 feet of the target and you don't have disadvantage. So, as long as you have people in melee range and you're shooting from range, you can get a sneak attack range on those targets. Or if you are in melee range with your friends, you'll get a sneak attack melee. So you can always really take advantage of your sneak attacks. And sneak attack is important because you'll do your damage plus 1d6 in this instance. But every odd level, so 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11, your damage will increase with sneak attack by an additional 1d6. So this goes from 1d6 at level 1 to 2d6 at 3 to 3d6 at 5. This will progress to 4 to 5 to 6d6 at level 11. So you can really dish out a whole ton of damage as a rogue. Another really big mechanic of the Rogue is also the cunning actions. You'll get these at level 2, but they will unlock the ability to use a bonus action rather than a standard action to do things like hide, dash, or disengage. And why this is so crucial is that we've already kind of talked about how sneak attack is anytime you have advantage on something. And you can use your bonus action to go hidden or to sneak around in the same turn that you then use a sneak attack with your main action. It's worth noting though, of course, you have to successfully pass a sneak check. So if you press cunning action hide and your character doesn't actually sneak, then your follow-up sneak attack is not going to work unless there's other things that are kicking in. But still, it's a great way to either end a turn or beginning a turn to get a sneak attack lined up or line up your sneak attack for the turn after this. Even as well, too, cunning action dash allows you to get some movement out rather than expending it with a main action, so you can actually do some damage too as well, maybe running up to someone and then attacking them. Or again, lastly here with cunning action disengage. And as we talk about the subclasses and when we've gone through those with the thief, you get your additional bonus actions. You can have a lot of fun with this to do some really crazy things with the rogue. When it comes to your skills and abilities, we're going to have a little bit of a conversation here. So we're going to point all of our points into dexterity out the gate. And then we're going to put the +2 here to give us 17 dex. We're going to give our charisma up to 10, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. And we're going to get our constitution to, let's just say 14. Now we have a choice, and this is going to depend upon any kind of multi-classing we have in mind for our rogue. Are we going to become a Gloomstalker Ranger rogue? Well, we probably want to invest into wisdom then, and given that extra point there. Do we want to go into a Shadow Monk rogue, which will be the multi-class feature in this video? Then we're going to want to have wisdom. Do I want to go Arcane Trickster? Well, then I'm going to want to put it into intelligence. Do I want to go rogue and say Warlock or Sorcerer or Paladin? Then I'm going to want to put it into charisma. So choose that kind of secondary investment based off of the ability that you want to focus on in a multi-class. 14 Constitution is more than enough, and 17 Dexterity is going to cover all of your range capabilities, and you're going to use finesse melee weapons, so you're pretty much all set between just these two stats. This tertiary investment is choosing what kind of bonus multi-class you have in mind. Now, as far as our skill proficiencies go, you as a rogue have access to almost every single skill to be proficient in, very similar to the bard. Bard can do every single skill. But you also get 2 expertise. Now what expertise does is it doubles your proficiency bonus. Keep in mind your proficiency bonus at level 2 is 2. And this will eventually become 3 and then eventually become 4 at level 9. So this will go from, oh, okay, you get your proficiency bonus, now you double that bonus and get a whole ton more towards something. So very rarely do I recommend certain backgrounds. I always say, hey, choose the role play of the character, and I'm definitely going to say that in just a little bit here. But in this instance, I've chosen a background that gives me the proficiency, the proficiency, the skill of sleight of hand and stealth. So then I can use my expertise on these and my other 4 proficiencies on whatever the hell I want. So I would say just use these expertise and proficiencies however you see fit. Keep in mind, of course, that perception and insight are very good abilities to definitely have, especially if you're going to go with wisdom, which you're going to have innate bonuses on. But also, let me give you an example here of why our charisma is only 10 if we're the main character. Persuasion and then an expertise into it, it's at 4. This will eventually become 6 once we reach the +3 to proficiency bonus. It'll eventually become +8. So you actually don't need to invest much into charisma as the main character and still feel like you're going to push your way through a lot of the heavy conversational checks in the game because you become proficient and then expertise into that skill. Now you will get a further expertise down the road as a rogue, so don't feel like, oh man, if I miss this expertise now, I'm going to screw it up. And also you can just respec at any time. So just choose the skills that make the most sense. Insight and perception are definite big standout ones, with stealth and sleight of hand being things that really just make a lot of sense for you as a rogue. Maybe expertise in sleight of hand makes more sense if you're not going to stealth around, because now this is going to help with disarming traps and picking locks. When it comes to your background, please choose whatever makes sense for you. I almost always go custom, but you can go with Astarion, who is kind of like the game's default rogue, and kind of go through the Vampire Thrall storyline if you so wish, or choose any of these other origin characters. Lastly, you have the Dark Urge, which is a particularly dark playthrough, but it is still a very fun playthrough where you're constantly fighting these dark urges to do some pretty wild things. I don't want to spoil any of it for you. So if this is your first playthrough, try out the Dark Urge. If it's a second playthrough, try out the Dark Urge. It's going to be a very different playthrough than anything else for you, so I definitely encourage it at least one time in your playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3. Moving into our background here, please choose the background too that makes the sense for your role play of your character. Are you a noble son who's kind of the black sheep and a roguish figure? Are you a folk hero who also kind of is a harper and acts as a spy? Are you a soldier who is a spy? It doesn't matter what your background is. Choose the thing that makes a sense for the character you have in mind. These background choices will go towards inspirations that you'll use in the game to re-roll any ability checks that you possibly fail. But you only get max of 4 inspiration points, so you'll constantly be using them. So just choose whatever makes sense. If you want a min-max roll, typically I'd recommend Guild Artisan for insight and persuasion. But I actually, this time around, would recommend Urchin, because this gives you sleight of hand and stealth, meaning we don't need to waste proficiencies in it. We can just already have it active with that background, and then I can put those proficiencies into insight and persuasion if I want, the 2 that I talked about earlier, and then I can put my expertise into whatever I want. I need to waste 2 of those proficiencies on 2 that I'm going to take as a rogue almost always, right? So I would definitely recommend that if you want to go with more of a min-max approach. Now your feat options are going to depend upon the type of character you want to play. Do you want to play a dual-wielding hand crossbow type of rogue, which is very common with the Gloomstalker multiclass? Well, then you're going to want to go sharpshooter, because this is going to reduce the penalties of being on low ground, shooting to high ground. And you're also going to get -5 to your attack roll, but you'll deal 10 more damage, and you can toggle this on or off. You'll also get the crossbow expert, which makes it so that crossbow attacks within melee range, the attack rolls do not have disadvantage, and your piercing shot also inflicts gaping wounds for twice as long. Those are 2 really big standout feats. The ability improvement one here, I didn't go over this in the ability improvement section, but taking an odd number is sometimes frowned upon. People say, well, why would you do that? Because you only get your bonuses on your even numbers. Putting ability improvement into the game at level 4 for your character, and then getting I'm going to try to think of this without spoiling it, a item from a hag, I'll just say, will then give you an additional ability point. So you will have 20 dexterity well within anything important happening in the game. You'll be like right in those first like crucial 6-10 hours of the game. So you'll have maxed your primary stat, and it is a very, very nice option. That being said, there are tons of half feats, or feats in which case they only give you one ability point that you can take advantage of, like Athlete here. When you're prone, you get up quicker, but you can put a point here into Dexterity. Lots of fun options. Alert is really good for giving you +5 bonus to initiative, and you personally cannot be surprised. Mage Slayer is great because you have an advantage on saving throws anytime that a spell is cast against you in melee, and you have a reaction to immediately make an attack against the caster. Also, enemies you hit have disadvantage on concentration saving throws, even if it's range, which is lovely. Lucky Armor is nice here. You gain 3 luck points, which you can use to gain advantage on attack rolls, ability checks, or saving throws, or to make an enemy re-roll their attack rolls, which is just always good, so you can use it in a lot of instances. This is just another fun half feat if you want to use it. Moderately armor probably be better because you start with light armor anyway. Some other one. Where is that other one that I was thinking of? I did Mage Slayer. I was going to say, I think it's Mage Slayer. I've chosen. Oh, mobile. There it is. Aha. So your movement speed increases, and difficult terrain doesn't slow you down when you dash. If you move after making a melee attack, you don't provoke opportunity attacks from your target. So this makes it so you don't have to use disengage, because disengage imposes a disadvantage on opportunity attacks. Mobile makes it so you just outright don't trigger them. So this really increases your movement and capabilities to get around the battlefield quite well. And there's tons of other feats that you can possibly go down. These are just a few standout ones that might be particularly good for you. And the progression for Rogue is going to be focused off of a few certain levels: level 5, level 7, and level 11. That's when you're going to get access to 3 big abilities. Now keep in mind too that your sneak attack is going up every odd number, right? You're going up another 1d6 every odd number of levels. So right here at level 5, you get Uncanny Dodge. Use your lightning quick reflexes to protect yourself. When an attack hits you, you only take half the usual damage. So if a ranged or melee attack hits you, then you take less damage. It's a great ability here. At level 6, we are going to get access to 2 more additional expertises, so you can just pop those into whatever skills make sense for you. And then level 7, we'll get access to Evasion. So when a spell or effect would deal half damage on a successful dexterity saving throw, something you have a proficiency in, it deals no damage if you succeed and only half if you fail. So you will always take half damage from spells and effects, and no damage if you succeed a dexterity saving throw. And then eventually at level 11, you'll get Reliable Talent. So it makes skills with proficiency that you've got, any skill you're proficient in, it makes them more consistent by treating any roll under 10 as a 10. Most just base difficult things like disarming traps are just a 10 difficulty. So it makes the fact that you can almost never fail something very true. Because if you think about it, if you basically are always rolling a 10, your proficiency will bring it up. At level 11, you'll have +4 to your proficiency. If you have an expertise in it, you got +8. So you're almost always rolling 18 or higher on anything you have proficiency and expertise in. It's disgusting. It's what makes the Rogue so good at rolling into so many of the skills that it has proficiency in, and it is absolutely awesome for your game. Multi-class options for the Rogue are far and wide. You can take even just 2-3 levels into this character and have a lot of fun. Even if you just unlock the cunning actions at 2, or you jump into 3 for Thief, and adding additional bonus actions to damn near everyone is a very powerful capability. You can do it for your Sorcerer, you can do it for any character you want. You can spice it into Fighter to add that sneak attack into there, or Barbarian, whatever it is, however you want to do it. There are just tons of options. Like I've said before though, make sure you're taking a look at the corresponding stats to have them make sense with the ones that you're jumping into. This guy got all messed up with my clicking around here. So a big option is most people will go with the Gloomstalker Ranger and Rogue. They'll take about the first level into Rogue, and they'll go levels 2 to 6 into the Ranger, focusing on going Gloomstalker, getting all the Gloomstalker attributes unlocked for themselves at level 5 of Ranger, and then finishing off on Rogue. I've already covered that in a video, so today I'm going to focus on a Shadow Monk Rogue, which is, or sometimes called a Shadow Rogue, or a Shadow Ninja, a Ninja Rogue, whatever it is. That's the focus we're going to take. So the first level here is going to be into Rogue, and then our second level is going to be into Monk all the way to level 6. Now conversely, you could simply take Rogue all the way up to 3, and then get Monk so that you at least have your Rogue subclass unlocked. Go with whichever way makes sense for you and the way you want to play. If you're liking the Rogue playstyle, just stick with it, but trust me, this is going to be fun nonetheless. So the big thing here with Monk is that you're going to get, where is it? The ability to add your dexterity instead of your strength to your attack rolls with your monk weapons and unarmed attacks. So the big thing here is your monk weapons. Now, monk weapons are those with any weapon you already have proficiency in. So our character as is, they have simple weapons and short swords. So those all count as monk weapons. And I'm using Astarion for this example, but maybe we started with a drow. So we have proficiency in all the weapons we had as a drow. Or if we started as a Gith, we'd have a proficiency in a greatsword, and that would count as a monk weapon for the pretense of this entire class. So that's what we're going to focus on. Also now, because our wisdom is at 3, we're going to take advantage of unarmored defense, which is going to add both our dexterity of 3 and our wisdom of 3 to our armor class as long as we are unarmored. And there's tons of Kushigo gear, which is all the monk gear in Act 1 and Act 2. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take that monk, and the monk we're just going to bring up here to level 2. We'll get our cool patient defense, our step of the wind dash, and our step of the wind disengage, which is basically giving us the ability to double your movement speed. Jump no longer requires a bonus action, and that's a bonus action and a key point invested here. Key points are your special currency. We'll jump up to level 3, where we will choose our subclass. Now, you can go way of the open palm or whatever, but we're going way of the shadow because this is a ninja. Now, this gives us Shadow Art's Hide, which otherwise we would get as a cunning action from our rogue. We now just get it right here. We also get Darkness, which is going to inflict blind on the things. Remember I talked about this in the beginning? Anytime you are attacking something that's blinded, you have advantage on it. So you can use your sneak attack on those things. This is what makes it so cool. You cast Darkness, you've got blind on it, you sneak attack it, bingo, bango, bongo. You have Silence as well as Dark Vision if you don't already have it as your race. And you also get Pass Without a Trace, which gives you plus 10 bonus to stealth checks, as well as Minor Illusion. And as we progress into this, we're going to go up to level 4. This is going to give us Slow Fall, which is good. I'm just going to click a button here anywhere, I don't care. Dual Wielder is also another good option for feed, by the way, because it gives you plus 1 AC if you want to use 2 weapons. Now we're at level 5 on Monk, and this is where we're going to stop on Monk for now, because we want to pick up extra attack. It's always crucial if you're jumping into any kind of multi-class with the Rogue that you pick up extra attack if it's a martial or melee-based class. Like if I did Gloomstalker Ranger, the reason we take our first 5 levels after level 1 in Ranger is to get extra attack, so that when we make the attack action, we get to attack twice. It's huge. Also, we're getting Stunning Strike melee, possibly stuns the target, and Stunning Strike unarmed, whichever one you want to use. Remember, proficiency weapons or your monk weapons are all those weapons. Keep in mind too here that these are actions you're using. They use key points, but they key off of your wisdom score. So the higher your wisdom, the more effective your Stunning Strike. You also get Cloak of Shadows here. Wrap yourself in shadows to become invisible if you are obscured. So you just have to make sure you're in low light or no light situations. So we'll accept that. And now we would jump back here into Rogue, get our cunning actions, and then jump into Thief. Now the reason we choose Thief is because we're getting that additional bonus action. That is what's particularly crucial here, right? And once we've gotten that, you have the option here you can stay as Thief if you want to get some more things unlocked here, maybe level 4 Thief to just get another feat going if you want. Or, and probably what I'd recommend, would be jumping back into Monk. And by doing this, we get Key Empowered Strikes. Your unarmed attacks count as magical for the purpose of overcoming enemies' resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks. But you get Shadow Step. Teleport from shadow to shadow. Afterwards, you have advantage on your next melee attack roll, which is just absolutely juicy. And you will get the same Rogue Evasion at level 7 that you would have gotten as you'll get the same Rogue Evasion at level 7 of Monk that you get at level 7 of a Rogue. But I think that it kind of delivers a lot of really fun things to the kit here for you, because there's a lot of actions that you do as a Rogue that are or I'm sorry, as a monk that are bonus actions. Like take a look at this. Flurry of Blows is a bonus action. You have all these bonus actions right here that you're going to be able to take advantage of. And that is a really great thing, right? Shadow Art Tide, you're popping into being hidden right away. Cutting Action Dash, you have all these things to take advantage of, this Shadow Step being one of them. So since it's a bonus action, I'm using that and I have so many more bonus actions to go with. But as this progresses with the next couple levels, we'll then get Evasion and Stillness of Mind at level 7, which is going to remove Charm and Frighten. If you've got those active, you'll get another feat at level 8 for your monk, of course, and then at level 9 you'll get advanced unarmored movement. So you'll be moving even further if you're unarmored as a shadow monk. So a really great option. I think it's very fun. I think a lot of people sleep on monk, but monk is very fun. It can dish out an absolute crap ton of damage. At that, it brings our video here to a close. So Rogue is one of those classes that can spice into any directions and have a lot of fun with its multi-class capabilities. You're taking advantage of your bonus actions, you're taking advantage of your sneak attack capabilities, and you can really do and add a lot of utility to anyone you want to play. If it's only level 1 or 2 into Rogue, or maybe just 3 or 4, whatever it is, you're going to have a lot of fun. Even playing a pure rogue is still an absolute shit-kicking good time. So please, by all means, if you have some suggestions for other multi-class options, let it be known in the comment section below. Or maybe you've gone with the Shadow Monk and you're like, you know what? It just works best going 6 rogue, 6 monk, and this is why. Whatever it is, let it be known in the comment section below. I'm always down for as much information disseminated out to the people as possible. Maybe you have a really good feat combination you wanted to divulge and say, hey, you know what? Go with these 2 feats. They go really well with these 2 actions or whatever it is. Any of those things always help anyone else that's brand new to the game. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.